No smartphones, no texting, no escape from the busy signal on the one home phone that over 90% of families shared. Generation X forged friendships through careful planning, handwritten letters, and face-to-face promises you simply had to keep. What did it feel like to build a connected life on trust, patience, and presence alone? The answers reveal just how rich analog connection could be, and why its lessons matter now more than ever. In the heart of every Gen X household, the landline phone stood as a constant presence, mounted on the kitchen wall, perched on a hallway table, or anchored beside a stack of dog-eared phone books. More than 9 out of 10 families shared a single line, and every ring carried the possibility of news, plans, or just a friend's voice on the other end. The phone's curly cord stretched across rooms as teenagers negotiated privacy, sometimes retreating as far as the cord would allow to escape the ears of siblings or parents. Evening hours were a delicate dance. Parents reserved the early slots for work calls, while teens waited for their turn, watching the clock and hoping the line would be free. Long-distance calls were precious, tracked on itemized bills and sometimes rationed to save money, so every minute counted. Without caller ID, every ring was a small mystery. It could be a friend, a relative, or someone selling encyclopedias. These limits shaped habits. Families posted handwritten charts on the fridge to schedule call times, and a busy signal was a familiar soundtrack. In this analog world, communication became intentional, and the effort to connect made every conversation matter just a little more. Plans made over the phone weren't just suggestions, they were commitments. Without the safety net of last-minute texts or instant updates, showing up meant everything. Friends would agree to meet at a specific time and place, and that was the plan, rain or shine. The ritual of calling to confirm, sometimes twice, became second nature. Once the details were set, everyone trusted they'd be honored. If you said you'd meet at the mall at 4, you got there early, scanning the crowd for a familiar face, sometimes waiting on a bench with nothing but your thoughts and the hope your friend would appear. Missing someone was a risk, but it was accepted as part of the deal. The effort it took to coordinate made each gathering feel earned. Presence wasn't just physical, it was a kind of promise, a quiet agreement that you could count on each other, even when plans took real effort to keep. A shoebox of letters sits quietly in the closet, each envelope a small act of intention. Handwritten notes, postcards from summer vacations, and carefully chosen stamps were more than just messages. They were tokens of effort and care. Waiting for a reply meant days, sometimes weeks, spent wondering about a friend's news or a pen pal's next story from across the country. In 1985 alone, Americans sent billions of pieces of personal mail, filling mailboxes with everything from birthday wishes to inside jokes scrawled on lined paper. For many, the ritual of writing was as important as the words themselves. The friend, for instance, kept every letter she received, bundled with ribbon and tucked away for rainy days. These exchanges did not happen in a rush. Anticipation became part of the experience. Each letter was a promise kept, a friendship maintained across time and distance, reminding everyone that real connection could be built one page at a time. A blinking light on the answering machine could change the rhythm of an entire evening. By 1990, more than half of American households had one perched next to the family phone, ready to catch whatever news arrived while no one was home. Outgoing greetings became a family signature. Sometimes a cheerful recording from the kids, sometimes a parent's voice promising to call back after the lasagna finished baking. Messages left behind were not just reminders. They were mini time capsules holding everything from birthday wishes to the details of tomorrow's carpool. Parents often enlisted their children to play secretary, listening to each message and carefully writing down names, numbers, and what needed a reply. Some kids got so good at this routine they could recite the etiquette by heart. Wait for the beep, speak clearly, leave your number, hang up. For busy families, the answering machine offered a way to stay connected, even when life pulled everyone in different directions. Remote checking features let parents call in from work or the grocery store, listening to messages on the go, an early taste of mobility before cell phones took over. The simple act of leaving a message and the patience required to wait for a response added a layer of intention to every conversation. In a world where the next connection was not guaranteed, the blinking light was both a promise and a reminder. Someone was thinking of you, and you would hear from them soon. A sudden beep from a pager could turn an ordinary moment into a sprint. By 1990, more than 10 million Americans carried these compact devices, clipped to belts, tucked into purses, or hidden in jacket pockets. For doctors, paramedics, and on-call workers, a pager's buzz meant drop everything, find a payphone, call back fast, no matter where you were. The urgency was real. A simple numeric code like 911 signaled emergency, while teens invented their own, sending 143 for I love you or 07734 for a sly hello. There was no way to answer directly. The only option was to bolt for the nearest phone, dig out a quarter, and hope the line was free. In the rush of city streets or the quiet of a late shift, that single beep cut through the noise, demanding action. Pagers added a new layer of speed to the Gen X communication web, one way but immediate, forcing everyone to stay alert and mobile. Each alert was a call to connect, not by convenience, but by commitment. Every neighborhood had its reliable gathering spots, the places where you could count on finding familiar faces, no phone call required. Cafes, corner diners, and community centers became more than just backdrops. They were anchors in the social map of Gen X. These were the so-called third places, a term coined by sociologist Ray Oldenburg to describe the public spaces that stood apart from home and work. For the regular, the local cafe wasn't just a stop for coffee. It was a second living room, a place where routines took root. Friends drifted in after school or work, sliding into their favorite booths, catching up on the day's news, or just lingering over a refill. Conversation flowed easily, weaving together old stories and new plans. The predictability of these spaces meant you didn't need to chase down friends. You just showed up, trusting the rhythms of the place. Community centers offered the same kind of certainty. Basketball games, dance nights, or open hours drew people in, week after week. These predictable third places stitched together the daily fabric of connection, making geography itself a kind of social glue. Without the safety net of instant updates, presence became a habit, and belonging grew from the simple act of showing up. Every Sunday night at exactly 7 o'clock, the student would settle in by the kitchen phone, notebook in hand, waiting for the long-distance ring. These scheduled check-ins were more than just a habit, they were a promise. In an era when calls across states could eat up a week's allowance, families marked calendars and set reminders, making each conversation a small event. Friends at college, siblings away for the summer, and even grandparents in another time zone all knew when to expect the call, and everyone showed up for it. Behavioral studies from the time noted how these rituals built trust. People counted on each other to call when they said they would, and the rare missed connection sparked real concern, not just annoyance. For the student, these weekly calls became anchors in the swirl of exams and new routines. Even a storm or a power outage could not fully sever the thread. Neighbors would lend a line, or messages would travel through friends, patching the gap until the next scheduled ring. In a world of uncertainty, the simple act of planning a conversation offered comfort, reliability, and a sense that, no matter the distance, someone would always be on the other end. When the nor'easter of October 1991 battered New England, the wind and rain knocked out 1.3 million telephone lines across Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. For nearly 2 days, the familiar hum of dial tones went silent. Yet the silence did not mean isolation. In kitchens and living rooms, neighbors turned to the phone trees they had built long before the storm. On one street, the neighbor, a retired teacher known for her neat handwriting, pulled out the chart taped to her fridge. Each name branched to 5 more, creating a living web of connection. With her own line still working, she called the first family on her list, who then reached out to the next, passing news, updates, and offers of help down the chain. Even when some lines stayed dead, people walked messages door to door or flagged down friends at the corner store, determined that no one would be left out. The phone tree was not just a backup plan, it was a promise that, even in a blackout, the commitment to show up for each other would hold. In those hours, the habits of planning, reliability, and presence, carefully built over years, became the backbone of community resilience. Connection endured, not because it was easy, but because everyone had chosen to make it matter. Today, instant messages flood our screens, but genuine connection still asks for something more: intention, presence, and trust. Gen X proved that deep bonds grow from effort, not convenience. In a world of constant contact, it is the quality of our time, not the quantity, that truly endures.